found it. This is where we're fighting for the republic. We're trying to restore the country to its axis of renaissance. Here it is, Daily Mail. They're all reporting it. UK sharing hate post online could lead to 6 months in jail under newly proposed rules. And then a liberal like Count Dankula, who makes comedy videos like Charlie Chaplin or John Cleese making fun of Hitler, had the dog Heil Hitler. They're saying he's facing 6 months to over a year in prison. So this is real. And joining us for the rest of the hour is Marc Randazza of Randazza.com. He's a very respected First Amendment lawyer out there across the country. I've asked a lot of people, hey, who's really good? They're like, well, Mark Balin, Marc Randazza. And there's a lot of guys that are older than them that were also famous for that are retired. But the law firm I've got in D.C. represents the Bushes and people, but they're there representing me on a bunch of these, fake things that are going on with the whole Sandy Hook deal. I'm not saying Sandy Hook's fake. I'm saying the fake lawsuit against me is filled with lies and all the rest of it. But this is the whole lawfare situation. But we're finishing with Paul Watson. This all ties together. Paul, from the UK, what do you make of Vice and Kid Vogue and all of this Teen Vogue with this young woman who looks like she's about 25 at South by Southwest, $3,000 ticket for the full ticket. She's got a smartphone. She's got the most elite ticket you can get, according to her lanyard. She's got fancy clothes, all this stuff. She's with some, rich-looking dude, all dandied out. And she's saying she wants socialism, but only for America, but knows nothing about Venezuela. Then they hold her up as this genius and say our reporter is a moron, and that we're scared of this interview. And I finally watched it. Why do you think they take the most collapsed, stupid, moronic people, and we'll play some of her in a moment, so just play it from anywhere. She sounds like an idiot. What is this tactic? Like the CIA putting up ugly architecture, ugly art to like make ugly or stupid the new avant-garde? What is this, Paul? What is this tactic? How do we quantify this?
Well, you could say the left can't meme. I mean, if this is their big hero, this is a woman who gave an interview saying capitalism is evil. She's got her head buried in an iPhone. I don't see Venezuela, I don't see North Korea producing many iPhones, Alex. I mean, she's been given a platform by Vice. They love her. They've done like 3 articles about her, calling her an extremely chill woman. In other words, meaning an apathetic, Dumbo moron who can barely talk, who responds to the question about Venezuela by saying, heard of it, heard of it. This is their big hero, a drooling idiot who can barely talk, who has no arguments, who is a complete hypocrite. Of course, Vice.com gives her a platform. They give a platform to some other very interesting other people. Todd Nickerson, the admitted pedophile, he's still on Vice.com. Remember, Salon.com reported on him, gave him a platform, gave him several articles, deleted the articles out of shame. He's still on Vice.com. They've got no standards.
And remember, he shows a 4-year-old girl.
They've literally taken a drooling idiot who knows nothing about socialism, who knows nothing about the fact that to fund government programs like healthcare, you need a creator class. You need wealth at the top. Otherwise, it doesn't get paid for. It collapses literally into people eating zoo animals and rats. They're like, oh, my God, she said they're eating rats. They are eating rats, right? Can you do a Google search? Venezuela's collapsing. Their currency's worth less than video game currencies at this point. This is the end game of socialism. It's killed millions of people throughout history. Oh, but this is cool and trendy now because this idiot drooler who can barely talk says some chill things in response to actual questions. If this is the best they can do, then they're struggling big time.
Now, Tommy Robinson, they want to put him in jail. They've been talking about it under this new UK regulation, not even law, Paul, in closing, for saying 88% of rapes are Muslims. Well, I mean, that's in the statistics. But, hey, all they've got to do is do what Finland's done now and a few other countries where their high court has ruled that they're allowed to rape children. So a 20-year-old can rape a 10-year-old, and it's not rape because that's the Muslim culture. So we have literal rape culture from Islam being defended. Meanwhile, they put up a statue in Florida of the famous sailor kissing the nurse, and she said she liked it. By the way, he did it in front of his wife, the sailor did. That's how stuff was, when baby boom was about to happen. They just beat the Nazis. They actually compared this to Nazi oppression, though, in these articles and call it rape culture. ladies and gentlemen. Well, let me tell you, beating Hitler and, you know, losing family members and losing your brothers and your sisters and everybody and the people that lived, you know, yeah, there was an orgy when everybody got back. Sorry, that's how it works. That's not rape, ladies and gentlemen. But let's look at some of these rape photos. There's some so powerful vintage photos of soldiers kissing their loved ones. Look how evil this is, that man and woman loving each other. This has got to stop. This celebration is so horrible. This is so evil, Paul. Look more. Again, viewer discretion advised nowadays. These photos are just absolutely terrible. Nothing like beating Hitler to drop the panties. I mean, that's what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. But on Twitter, they compared me to Hitler for tweeting some of these out, Paul. Closing comments on that, my friend.
Well, I mean, we had a situation in Britain where they banned a Beachbody ad of a toned, fit, athletic woman because it was body shaming, and replaced it with these 3 obese land whales who are going to, unfortunately for them, have premature deaths. This is the complete reversal of sanity. This is anti-woman. This is anti-human. Everything they do is an absolute despicable reversal of logic inflicted upon us. What can we expect at this point? It's absolutely incredible.
Well, in every culture, when you lose millions of people, there's a baby boom right after. That's called instincts. All right. I couldn't think of a better time to have Marc Randazza, a leading First Amendment lawyer, here in studio with us. I'm not having my lawyers on about the particular defamation cases against me by the Democratic Party using the families of Sandy Hook and using others to basically try to build a case to go after the Second Amendment, First Amendment. But at the same time, more and more people are recognizing this is happening, and InfoWars has been chosen as the test case. But there's a lot to cover. In Europe, Mark, we were talking during the break, you wrote a story for CNN.com about Count Dankula, who's a comedy guy. Again, John Cleese, all the other famous comics did their Hitler jokes. They've had Sarah Silverman do the Hitler jokes on late night TV, but he did a Hitler joke, and he's been convicted and is facing up to a year in prison for having his pug Heil Hitler.
Yeah, for a hate crime, which is absurd. I mean, this guy had his girlfriend has a little pug dog that she squeals all the time about how cute it is. It annoys him, so he decides he's going to do something funny and teach it how to do a Nazi salute.
A dirty trick, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to admit, in the scheme of like trolling your girlfriend, it's somewhat brilliant.
My wife piped me this morning. She wasn't mad at me. She just slammed a key lime pie into my face.
All right, it means something else to my clients, but okay. But yeah, anyway, this is it's just, you know, messing with his girlfriend, and they decide that this is a hate crime? Why? I mean, it's absurd, but it is this view, you know, this idea that really, you know, it bothers me when one side of a debate decides that it can't win in the marketplace of ideas, so it just says it's going to try to win through suppression of those ideas, even jokes about it. I mean, this is nothing but a joke. Any idiot could see that. And for the prosecutor to even bring the case, much less for the court to convict him, I think it's a travesty in a country that's supposed to be a democratic society.
And here's the thing. This is mechanized. It's organized. It's moving. And just to be clear, I wouldn't pick the weights up in the garage because I use that as a gym. And it became a joke for days that I wouldn't pick them up. And I said, she's not my mommy. And then I'd asked her to get me a key lime pie like a week ago, but I didn't ever eat it. So it was a friendly joke, but she did pie me.
Sure, hey.
While I was laying there doing flies, all of a sudden my wife goes, bam, key lime pie. It was kind of fun.
Well, if she had put a swastika on the pie, you could charge her with a hate crime, I suppose.
Absolutely. But yeah, so he's flirting with his girlfriend, messing with her. And plus, it got millions of views. He made money off of it. He's a comic. How can Charlie Chaplin do it, or how can John Cleese do it, but this guy can't do it?
You know, I don't think it has anything to do with what the guy is. I think it has to do with, you know, people who want censorship are going to try to push the envelope at every opportunity. And, you know, right now it happens to be that this is much more the purview of the left, at least in the West. That wasn't always the case. And, you know, heck, I've got shoes that have been around longer than it's been a liberal value to be in favor of censorship.
How did they completely flip since Trump got elected? They're now, we want to end it. It's evil. Get rid of it.
Because so few people are committed to neutral civil liberties, and they're more committed to tribe. So they decide if they can use censorship to further their views. I mean, I remember back in the Bush administration, you know, his entire Justice Department was devoted to trying shutting down pornography because...
Or rappers.
Yeah, they wanted, and before that, you know, you had Tipper Gore. My God, you know, Al Gore's wife.
And the left was all freaked out about it. But I mean, now, here's why they're doing it. The left, before was making money out of Hollywood and all the smut and the porn and the rest of it. They wanted to break down society. I'm not saying censor people, but I have my comment on what they were doing. Now they have the tools with social media and big tech. So now that they have the Ring of Mordor, they're putting it on.
I agree. You see this with people on the right being systematically no platformed from, not just from media sites, but from YouTube, from Facebook, from Twitter, and now from PayPal and Stripe. If any company decides that it doesn't like the kind of thing you have to say, you're off. Now, and that's exactly what Mark Balaam was telling me yesterday, my lawyer on this. He said, no, they're building towards a total no platforming where you're going to be in a ghetto. Just like the Nazis did, they're going to kick you off everything. They're going to try to bankrupt you, which they admit they're trying to do. Yeah, I mean, from a legal standpoint, I have to admit, they have a legal right to do that. They can decide they don't want them on here. You can decide, you don't like what I have to say and go to a break and kick me out of here. But when you invite that kind of one-sided debate, when you invite that kind of suppression of views that you don't like, you're doing something that is just not in any way healthy for a free society. It's
sure.
not.
Mark, I don't know if I totally agree with you. If a gay couple gets $500,000 because a Christian didn't want to bake their cake, I'm a libertarian. I say, hey, bake their cake, but hey, don't $500,000. Come on, give me a break. But if we're getting to the point where conservatives and libertarians are being discriminated against about being able to enter marketplaces,
yeah,
that's very discriminatory. I mean, if we said we're not going to let black people have a platform on YouTube or something, they're going to say, oh, well, that's racial. But if it's political, it's the same thing. I know judges have ruled, hey, you can refuse conservative service. Well, then where's that leading? It leads to a total war. Plus, we've got this larger issue where it's going to go tit for tat. I mean, take Amazon. They're not letting Christians use the platform for their whole program of charity. And so Christians need to boycott that.
Look, that's, they may, when it comes to racial discrimination, we do have laws that are clearly against that. When it comes to political discrimination, there are some laws in California, for example. The Unruh Act has been interpreted to prohibit that. But that's really it's not a slam dunk theory. It's one that I'm trying to push in some cases. But you're right that if we don't look at it just so much as a legal issue, but as a normative issue, you're right. At some point, this kind of speech doesn't go away. Where it goes is it goes underground. People will find a way to organize, reorganize, and then I think you're going to find it even more scary. I mean, the thing is, nothing has given, I think, the extreme right, the neo-Nazis, nothing's given them more credibility and more strength than the efforts to shut them down. I mean, in the past, when you'd have a neo-Nazi march, a bunch of people would stand around, point at them and laugh, and it would be a ridiculous spectacle of 5 or 6 guys, trying to cosplay Nazis. And everybody would laugh at them, and no one would take them seriously. But now when you have this organized effort to commit violence against them, to try to take them down off of any means of expression, well, then you wind up giving them just that little bit of martyrdom. You give them that little bit, that edge of now they're the rebel.
Well, I was about to say, or take InfoWars, where Megyn Kelly edits tape of me saying that Hillary killed children in the basement. And I was talking about Hillary funding the Arab Spring. It's in the same clip. She just edited it and then played it. That's the defamation. That's the disinformation. That's the attack. And then they use that to try to deplatform us. That's going to cause a major Streisand effect for InfoWars.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, look, there was a time when I remember the internet companies just wouldn't listen to anything resembling censorship. The whole mantra in Silicon Valley was that, we are the free speech wing of the free speech movement, and, we're going to let the marketplace of ideas decide.
But that's when they were getting total dominance over the web. Now that they've got 90+% total control, they are the internet. Now that the internet has been privatized to these multinational groups, Google's bigger than most governments, they're now rolling up the trap.
And they're not accountable. And, what really bothers me is that it's almost like it's an experiment. Let's see if we can do it to the far right. Let's see if we can do it to Klansmen and Nazis. Because if you can do it to them, you can do it to anybody.
Well, that's how it was in Nazi Germany. First they went for this group, then that group. That's how authoritarians always work. It's a formula. It's in the WikiLeaks. Marc Randazza, stay there. We're going to come back. I'm talking about solutions. What do we do to turn the tide and defeat this? Because the censorship is here. Europe already arrests you if you say, hey, a Muslim raped a little girl. You're arrested. England's now putting that in. It's coming here next. This is draconian. I was talking to Marc Randazza during the break, and he dropped a bombshell on me, and I just pulled up the news article here. The American Bar Association is saying that if you make politically incorrect statements, according to their definition, you will be disbarred, not just in the practice of law, but in your own life. That is an end of the First Amendment. This is a clear assault by the big corporations, the institutions, the tech giants, the old media that's falling apart, the old political guard, to absolutely bully everyone into submission. And Mark, I didn't even know about this. I mean, this is just incredible that this is happening. And you were saying when you take a political test, you're right smack dab in the middle, you know, of the liberal column. And, and I've known about you for years. I know that. But you're a First Amendment guy. And all these lawyers I know, liberal and conservative, my local Austin lawyer, very liberal, very good guy, Eric Taub, he was telling me that he's never seen the corporations, the law firms, the companies, the individuals so scared and just saying we have to do this. Well, this is total bullying. That's what political correctness has become, where there's always more you've got to do. Now they're taking, you know, mankind or humankind, you know, out of the national anthem of Canada. They're taking mother and father off the forms because that's a hurtful word. I mean, is there any end as the scourge of the political correctness and authoritarianism of the universities, like diseased tumors busting open and metastasizing?
Look, it's a requirement of orthodoxy. And that's one thing I've never liked orthodoxy. You know, the fact that I do seem to be, you know, if I plot myself, yeah, I do wind up right smack in the center of the liberal field.
And the allure of the old left was that it wasn't orthodoxy.
No, it had room for debate. You know, these are the people that there was a time when communism was something that we wanted to suppress here, and it was the old liberals that said, wait a minute, there's room for the philosophy that killed 90 million people. There's room for the philosophy of Stalin and Mao in our society. There's room for that because the marketplace of ideas will discredit it. And to the extent it doesn't, I mean, heck, even they might have one tiny shred of something that might be true that we take out and use as our own and get rid of the rest. But that's just not how people want it now. And that's what troubles me. You know, when you talked about this ABA rule, the American Bar Association has been trying to push this Rule 8.4G, which would require lawyers to always be politically correct. I mean, I could go into bore the
that would turn it into a full-bore cult.
Yeah, I mean, I could bore the hell out of your viewers with the legality.
No, this is huge. This is one of the biggest guilds, biggest professional groups in the country. One of the most powerful things in the world. Yeah. And they're saying you will adhere to whatever our new doctrine is.
And not only in the practice of law, but anything connected to it. So, for example, I'm on your show right now, and I'm a lawyer. This is connected to the practice of law.
You're going to be criticized for coming on.
Oh, yeah, that's already happened. But I'm also pretty sure you're not winning the Political Correctness Award this year. You know, I could be disciplined under 8.4G if any of the bars that I was a member of had adopted it. Fortunately, to this day, so far, I believe only Vermont has adopted it, which is a little strange. But you know, Montana and Tennessee rejected it. Nevada's taken it off the table. So people are pushing back. It's not as terrifying because lawyers are looking at this. Arizona is currently considering it. So if you're a lawyer in Arizona and you want freedom of expression,
point is, there's an iron, to quote Churchill, guys try to pull up Churchill's Iron Curtain speech. There is an iron curtain descending down now across Eastern Europe. And the evil Soviet Empire is expanding, and they are destroying free speech and censoring. I mean, this is an iron curtain descending.
You know, it's almost too bad that the Iron Curtain fell, I've said sometimes, because it gave us at least this negative example of what we did.
Exactly. Don't be like that.
Yeah.
Because now we're becoming that.
Because it was, you know, it was one party rule, one way of thought. You know, yeah, you could be a dissident in East Germany. You could do that. You wouldn't get ahead. You wouldn't get into colleges. You wouldn't get the jobs you wanted.
And that's the new system they're setting up here.
Right. And you know, when you think about, like communist East Germany.
In America, we're going to live like, sorry, go ahead.
But also, you know, at the time, we also said we wanted to fight. We put everything against that because we wanted this freedom of thought. We wanted this freedom of expression. And we didn't want to live in a surveillance state. And now we've voluntarily given so much more surveillance power to the 650 area code than we ever would have tolerated under the Stasi would drool over what we've given to Silicon Valley as far as surveillance powers. And now we've also got that coalescing into a way to suppress political thought.
And are we surprised that Germany 3 years ago began hiring senior former Stasi to run Facebook censorship program and to call the police.
No, not at all. I mean, I think the Stasi would be absolutely at home in Silicon Valley today.
Well, when we talked about England, because it's already happened in Europe, if you criticize Islam or gays, 6 months in jail. And now it's happening.
Sure. And, you know, but I say, even if that criticism is unfair, even if that criticism is wrong, mean, bigoted, so what? Because are these bigoted ideas so scary to these people that they can't stand in opposition to their own beliefs?
But it's even worse. It always only expands. They're just setting the precedent with what sounds popular. Oh, let's ban the Nazis. Next, it's, we're going to fire this police chief. He reported that 92% of the rapes in Stockholm are for Muslims. I mean, and of course, like you said during the break, first it's we can hit Richard Spencer in the head. I don't like Richard Spencer, but no, don't. But next, hit anybody you want in the head. Well,
first it's everybody thought it was funny when you said, hey, it's okay to punch a Nazi. And then it becomes, you see it right there on the screen. Now, that's okay. Why? Because you disagree with his politics? You cross that speech violence divide, and you are the one firing the first shot. And then
what would happen if Spencer knew how to fight, and then he broke that guy's neck? Well, then was it okay you got your neck broken? These rules are there to protect you people.
You know, honestly, had that happened, maybe the world would be a better place, because the kid with the mask, I think, should have had his neck broken. But, that's not what happened. But then it expands, right? It's edgy and great and gets you adulation down at the local Starbucks when you say it's okay to punch a Nazi. But then But
suddenly they define me as a Nazi and say...
That's the problem, yes. The ever-expanding definition of Nazi to these idiots is anybody who isn't 100% in their camp, and they demand such political orthodoxy that you see them also eating their own. I mean, eventually, you're going to have only one person left on the left.
I was so politically blind growing up and everything. I didn't even think when I married my first wife that she was half Jewish, what that meant, and the white supremacists hating my kids. And then I get to have my sister's Korean adopted, my kids, you could say are part Jewish, whatever, I'm proud of that. The point is then the Nazis hate me, but then the left calls me a Nazi everywhere when there's not anything racist I'm even saying. Well, and they go, that Nazi doesn't even deserve to be on the air.
Right, because everybody who doesn't agree with me is a Nazi. I mean, that's really where it's going. And then you extrapolate that to, well, violence and other forms of suppression are okay against anybody who's a Nazi. But if you expand that view, next thing you know, you're left with, Nazi just means somebody that I want to punch if I'm on the left.
Well, use the real Nazi analogy. They did it with the Jews and a few other groups first. And as we know, by the end of World War II, then if a richer Nazi wanted somebody below him's money, they just called him a spy and took their stuff. And pretty soon it was mainly Germans who'd been serving the Reich and, and like people that Hitler was jealous of. Oh, suddenly Field Marshal Rommel, you're a Jewish agent. We're going to make you commit suicide. It just expands.
Wasn't that because he tried to kill Hitler?
Well, he did too. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's
a little bit of a reason.
Get you in trouble. You try to kill the dictator or even the democratically elected president. Yeah, you get in trouble. But still,
you did show you a little bit of a history buff there.
Well, tiny, but not enough that I could debate it long. But I can definitely say that
Rommel. They think Rommel knew. He actually wasn't. But yeah, they wanted Rommel to lead Germany into a peace deal, and Rommel had agreed that day. They were already surveilling him and then killed him that day.
Yeah, I mean, look, all my knowledge of it comes from that movie Valkyrie. So it's
a good movie. It's very accurate.
That was a great movie. But really, if this comparison, when you try to compare anything to Nazis, it doesn't work. You know what's like Nazis? Just Nazis. Even neo-Nazis of today.
No, but I agree. But if you want to do a parallel of youth brigades, hitting people in the head with bike locks, calling for other people to have their speech taken, and calling to be able to use violence exclusively against somebody else, that's pretty Nazi-like.
Look, we don't have to call it Nazi-like to make it wrong.
It's authoritarian.
It is. And
we'll be right back. Stay there. Stay with us, folks. I should have introduced Marc Randazza as the guy that represented the Daily Stormer, you name it. And, there he was with a Jewish lawyer and a gay lawyer. He was just telling me during the break representing this guy. And when they were taking his website down off the providers, people thought it was a hoax. Liberal media was like just a year ago, oh, whatever, Daily Stormer, you're just doing this. No one's trying to take you down. Now you've had the court case, all of it. A year and a half later, take Alex Jones down. He's a horrible criminal. And then they misrepresent what I've said. It's bad enough if I was really a Nazi, you shouldn't take me down. But then they lie. So can you speak some of the Daily Stormer model? Because, again, they start with something really unpopular.
Right.
People don't believe what's happening in America. Not even a defamation suit. Just you're not allowed to be online. And you told me you can't get into the details of it. But well, let's just say this. You've been threatened before, and lawyers have, not to even represent people.
Yes. I mean, frankly, that was worse back in the Bush years when I was representing pornography companies. I mean, I first started carrying a gun because I was getting emails from people saying that, you know, with Bible verses telling me that I should be taken out for representing pornography.
A.K.A. Larry Flint.
Yes. So, you know, that's when I started carrying. So people ask me.
By the way, Larry Flint used to publish my articles when I was exposing Inside Job, 9/11, or all this stuff. But as soon as I supported Trump, meh.
Yeah. Well, you know.
But my point is, when Bush was in, I was, he is. When Bush was in, I'm supposedly a communist. And then now that Trump's in, I'm this right-wing Nazi.
Well, that's, you know, that's a good sign. All right, if the political winds shift around you and you are nailed down to this rock of neutral civil liberties, I think that's a good place to be. Unfortunately, there's not too many people clinging to that rock. But, you know, to answer your inquiry here about, you know, what happened to the Stormer. I mean, I don't like anything on the Stormer. I'd never read it before I represented it.
It attacks me a lot.
Hey, sorry, you know, but I don't.
The only times I saw it, it was vicious. Is it still up?
It is, but
guys, I'll prove this. Type in AlexJonesDailyStormer.com, and I mean, I hardly ever look at it, but the lies on there. Go ahead. But you know what? That rat is. It has his right to have that up there.
That's how I look at it. He has a right to express himself, but also, not only is it good that he has that right, but I think it's good that we let people like that express themselves. If you want to defeat that idea, bring your own idea. But unfortunately, what's happened is people who want these ideas down, who, I mean, I don't understand what it is about that somebody who feels that their arguments are so impotent, so weak that they can't stand to have this website up. So they go to the domain name servers. They go to the domain name providers and tell them, yank their domain name. Then they go to their web host, yank their web hosting, yank all their banking ability, and drive them completely underground. That has done more to help this guy.
Here, go back. There it is. ADL shill, Alex Jones. Here, let's pull up the Daily Stormer. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
sure, hey, it's
for TV viewers. Go back.
It's your show.
Yeah, no, it's your show when you're on. Scroll down, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, see, I mean, look, all of this, if this is, you know, if this here, you look at this, and if you can't combat that with your viewership, and you can't combat that through arguments that you can make on this show, then, you know, that doesn't say a lot about you. And frankly, you can. I mean, this is.
Well, I'm kind of upset.
Silly.
Used to, he attacked me more. Some of these aren't even that mean. Maybe maybe he's woken up. Here, let's go back.
A picture of you.
Oh, I was just saying I'm a fat ass. Here, go back and show some of the older articles. Scroll down, because I know I saw stuff on there before it was mean about me.
Yeah, I mean, look, of course, they're Nazis. They're not nice. I mean, that's part of the philosophy, right? But you're not going to look at feel-good pieces on here. But this is part of the marketplace of ideas. The way you defeat these ideas is you don't buy them and you bring other ideas forward. I mean, I don't know of anybody who's ever been mentioned on this site that is probably proud of themselves, you know, or at least proud of the article, except sometimes, you know, heck, sometimes I'm pretty proud of the people who criticize me. I mean, Westboro Baptist Church did a video criticizing me and, you know, threatening me with fire and brimstone. And the day that happened, I called my mom. I was like, hey, Mom, I've arrived. Westboro Baptist Church is protesting me. So, you know,
well, I confuse all the Daily Stormers and Stormer this, Stormer that, but I know some of those Stormer sites have attacked. There was a little bit of attacks in there, but not what I remember. But that was years ago. I don't even pay attention to that stuff in so long. It makes my head hurt.
Yeah, I mean, look, Nazi ideas are silly. I mean, that's why.
Sure, but this obsession with it, we have the new authoritarianism, not the Nazis 70 years ago we're facing. And so I think your point about the Nazis were the Nazis.
Yeah.
Moving on now. What would you call the modern authoritarian left then?
Look, there's something new. I mean, this is a new thing.
What do you call it? It's beyond.
I don't have a label for it. You know, maybe we could invent one, but really,
legal terrorism?
I don't think it needs a label. I think you just need to look at it and see how utterly scary it is. You know, I remember when Silicon Valley was this great thing. It was going to disrupt everything, and these big closed fortresses of companies that had run everything forever were going to start to lose some ground.
And now it's meet the new boss worse than the old boss.
That's the problem. You know, we're going to be down to 5 CEOs who run everything. And heck, at least an authoritarian government is at least in some ways accountable to something. These are completely unaccountable. I mean,
Well, you look at how Bezos is so cold-blooded about everything and so mean and anti-liberal and how he basically pays no taxes. And then he's funding all these groups pushing for the middle class to have higher taxes. He's such a hypocritical villain, man. Yeah. And then I find out he's in my business. He's got the Washington Post calling me a snake oil salesman when I sell supplements that he sells as well. I mean, it's just, come on, dude.
Well, this is how, I mean, this is the result of letting these companies have so much immunity and so much control. I mean, you look at Google, and Google used to have, used to be, don't be evil was their motto. And now I think if you wanted to have a similar motto today, it'd be don't be Google. I mean, Google is one of the most.
Ooh, did you invent that? Said it, don't be evil, don't be Google.
Yeah, I'm gonna sue anybody who uses it. No, I'm just.
No, I'm serious. Hey, get that domain right now. Our guy's in there. I want don'tbegoogle.com. Get it. I must have it. We got to get you as one of our legal analysts here on. Only if you wear a swastika armband.
I'm not going to do that. Not now, nor have I ever owned one.
It's a joke.
I have an Italian flag kippa, but that's about it.
You can have that. That's good. We like Italians. Anyway, seriously though, expanding on this. Without getting into the details of my cases, my lawyers don't want me to, obviously.
Right, that would be a bad idea.
What do you make of this, the assaults you've seen on us?
Look,
you've read the lawsuits.
I have seen, let's just generalize to the number of what I call slap suits that have been filed against people for political reasons over the past couple of years. They have always been there. There have always been slap suits. There have always been people who try to silence others through the process is the punishment sometimes. As you're probably aware, I'm sure you write a lot of big checks to your lawyer. Lawsuits are expensive and they feel extremely wasteful. And at the end of it, you're drained, and that's the whole point of it. I see this happening, not just to you, but to a lot of people politically on the right. And the point of it is to drain you, to make sure that there is a price for expression that perhaps you cannot pay. And that is just completely disgusting to me. And what's even more disgusting is when you see cases like this that aren't just thrown out. I mean, they really should be thrown out. And there's, for example, in Charlottesville, there is a very large lawsuit going on right now against the guy who drove the car into the crowd of people. That guy should be sued. I can't see any justification to let him off the hook.
Absolutely.
But then also the list of defendants is anybody who talked about going to Charlottesville. Anybody who said, let's go to Charlottesville for this protest.
They're now saying anybody that showed up, they're even calling reporters that showed up who weren't part of the alt-right. They're calling them alt-right and saying they need to get in trouble. Briefly, speaking of the devil, if you stand with us and buy the products, which are already excellent, that you already need, all this garbage will not bring us down. But if it is able to bring us down, ladies and gentlemen, and we're confident that it won't, and I'm not just confident, we're extremely confident, then it will set a precedent for the entire world. But I've talked to the top lawyers across the country. They now agree that we are the test case to try to end the First Amendment in this country. And you hear what they're doing to the American Bar Association, trying to get those rules through where they have no free speech. It's time for lawyers, too, to stand up for free speech like Mr. Randazza is doing. And it's time for listeners to understand we make it easy to support us. We've got 50% off super high quality, concentrated, fluoride-free organic toothpaste fortified with iodine, tea tree oil, colloidal silver, peppermint, you name it. The children's has all that in it, but the tea tree and the peppermint is too strong. We have the 3 immune gargles and the mouthwash with colloidal silver, iodine, and more. They're all there. Super next level. We're talking 16 ounces of the silver Sol solution, one of the best types out there. I have not really hyped this up enough, the immune gargle, how great it is, but it's all set to sell out. I'm still putting it out there because I want you to see how great it is to keep reordering it. So I'm enticing you. Now, the combo pack's brand new, so there's no reviews of that. Thousands of 5-star reviews for the individual products, free shipping on it, 50% off. We have the ultimate turmeric formula, 95% curcumin level, bodies. Amazing. If you know about turmeric, if you don't know about turmeric, learn about it. 50% off of that right now and a bunch of other specials. The DNA Force special, 50% off, is going to end on Monday. Forgot to tell you that, so take advantage of that. Now stronger DNA Force Plus. We've got hundreds of great T-shirts that help spread the word and reach out and it's kind of choose your own adventure. What's going to happen when you wear one? It's all there at InfoWarsStore.com. Stay with us. Hour number 4. Well, Marc Randazza, great First Amendment lawyer, one of the top guys in the country, writes great articles even for CNN.com, fighting for the First Amendment. He's a real liberal. because I used to be on the fence, part conservative, part liberal. I'm a libertarian. They used to call me all these names, and now here we are. They're trying to end the First Amendment, and Marc Randazza is one of the only liberal lawyers. I've talked to a bunch of them, and they say, listen, Alex, at the ACLU, you name it, they said, we agree with you. They go, this is off record, obviously. I'm not going to say the names. Yeah. But they say, we agree with you. This is a really dangerous climate. It's like a 500-year flood, and we've been told by our boards and everybody, do not support you or any conservatives. Well, that's shameful. And so you guys ought to know, if we fall, you're next. I mean, it's just obvious.
Yeah, well, look, the ACLU gave up on the First Amendment a long time ago. It's not new that they've given up on that. Then that's back to what I said earlier in the show, is that people are, instead of siding with neutral civil liberties, they're siding with tribe, and you can't do that. Right now, the ball is in the conservatives' court.
My tribe is the Bill of Rights. Don't people get that's the real universal system of freedom?
That's what I believe in, and that's what but when I hear people, I hear people that are conservative now saying, well, we've got to play by their rules. We've got to bring the same thing to the left that they're bringing to us. I think that's
the censors win.
Idea. It's a really bad idea.
And behind the scenes, News Corp has this new CEO. He did a big article 3 months ago saying we're going to ban Alex Jones and WikiLeaks. Once the precedent's set, we're going to end the free internet, and we're going to make hundreds of billions. And he bragged he just met with the Silicon Valley heads, and they agreed.
Yeah, and that's a scary, scary future, because if Silicon Valley, let's say if Google can just say it's going to completely wipe something off the internet because it doesn't agree with its politics now. And it's very easy to do that when it's a Nazi, because who's going to stand up for the Nazis besides some freak First Amendment lawyer like me? Other than that, there's going to be a very small group at that pity party. But you know what? When you can take that political group and get rid of them, why can't you then get rid of somebody who simply opposes your candidate? Why can't you one day, hey, Larry Page decides he wants to
and that's obviously the goal here.
I think it is.
Total power.
The idea is control. I don't think you're ever going to see Google or Facebook or Twitter manage themselves ethically in any way or neutrally in any way. No, they are going to pick and choose winners. And right now, it's real easy to say it's just these people that a lot of people hate. But it's going to get less and less. Just like it was okay to punch a Nazi, now it's okay to punch a Republican.
And here's the coup de grace, the final blow. Apple and all these companies are now finally agreeing to China and censorship and reporting Falun Gong and Christians who have their organs taken. And Apple is now in China and just has new terms of service where the Chinese government gets the keys to everybody's iCloud. This is Reuters. So imagine if big tech is signing on to communist China, they'll sign on to anything.
Oh, yeah. Look, the way the Chinese system is, it's funny that we have the biggest communist country in the world has, through capitalism, simply become a capitalist authoritarian state. And I feel like we're going the exact same direction. We're just coming at it another way. I mean, ultimately, whether somebody's so-called free or communist really is of no distinction. It's how much power you've given
exactly
to these authoritarians in a small group of authoritarians that can make it that the wheel just can't spin anymore.
And if you look at Davos, they admit they go, we're technocrats. For 5 years they've been saying this. We don't want elections. We'll just run your country. They're so arrogant.
Yeah, well,
like, oh, Bezos, you'll just run me. Thank you. You're so nice.
Sure, why not? I mean, when you can have unfettered wealth, and unfettered control. But this is where the crazy liberal in me comes out. Maybe it is the profit motive that causes this to happen.
Well, you have so much wealth that you can have incredible wealth for people at a base level. They don't even understand there's other stratas above them. So that gets consolidated and then takes out the lower strata. So it's like Victor Hugo said, prosperity makes monsters, adversity makes men.
Yeah, I mean, and the way that this concentrated wealth, just kind of it can warp democracy in a way that like a black hole warps light. And that is something that I think we're really missing if we're not afraid of it.
I already knew about your great work, but I'm impressed. I can't wait. You're going to come on the War Room, really raise the alarm, coming up in 1 hour, and then we're going to meet about some other stuff. Mr. Randazza, thanks for coming in.
Hey, my pleasure.
Hey, QAnon, the new fake hijack QAnon is attacking us. We're going to blow it wide open straight ahead.